Hello, I'm Lise-Lotte. Welcome to my garden. I've got Lily here beside me, and I wanted to tell you a story about something that had happened as a result of last week's, both my newsletter and this video. And that is that a friend sent me an email that said, "You told me to be creative." And she sent me a picture of a screenshot from the video, and then she sent me this beautiful drawing that she had made of me in the garden. And I have her permission to tell the story, but not to link her name. So that's why I'm not usually when I show an artist something, whatever it is that they've made, I always say who it is, of course. But in this case, I've been asked not to, so I won't. But she is remarkable as a human being, and she spends her days in her work life helping other people, and most of her other time in family caregiving. And those two things are very full on in and of themselves. And so she doesn't have a lot of time, but she gets up really early in the morning, and she drew this at 5 in the morning, and it got me really to thinking about how that is such a beautiful example of when you are so busy, what you can still do just to give yourself some of that time to be creative. Even if you don't see yourself as a creative person, even if you don't see yourself as somebody who draws, you just try it. And I don't know if she sees herself as somebody who draws. I don't think she does draw normally. I think this is new. And I was so inspired by that, because when we try these new things, that really is creativity. And what it gives us is something more. And I want to talk about that. And it just takes sort of 10, 15 minutes a day to do something creative. And when you do, it doesn't matter what it is. Like, it doesn't matter if it's something that you want to share, or if it's something that you want to build a business around, or anything like that. It can be the most simple of things. And because it's for you, and the benefits for your mind and your body are about giving yourself that time. And your body doesn't care what you make. So, my crochet, for example, is not pretty, but the fact is that I can sit and make something and play with it and have some fun just for a few minutes. And it doesn't have to be shown to anybody. I might take it up again, who knows? But the point is that you've given yourself that time to really come back to yourself. And that is the most important thing. And that's what happened here. She came back to herself. She came back to her creative self. She reminded herself that she's a creative person, and that, that's so important. And so I want to show you the example that I have just spent 10 minutes doing, which is, this is a little jar, actually, that was my mom's. And I haven't been flower arranging in it for some time. I don't know why, but I thought, no, today's the day. So I have put my first, actually, it was the first ranuncula from the hoop house. And then I found another one sort of hiding. So that's exciting. And this is a little branch it's from the pear tree. And normally I wouldn't actually pick anything from a fruit tree, but it's going right onto the hoop house, and I know that it's not going to work there anyway. So that's what I did. And I put a little last bit of the hyacinth in, just for a little scent. But anyway, that's what I've done. And I just, is it something glamorous? Is it something? No, but it's something that I enjoyed in just a few minutes going around the garden this morning. It's a really cool morning. And so it's actually, I was trying to get out here early before all the noise, but I guess I wasn't early enough, so that you could hear all the birds instead of all of the, all the digging and whatever. But so that's why I'm out here so early, but it is cold. But they just are giving me so much happiness and joy. And I always say this about flowers, and that is that they're not doing anything special. They're not doing anything. They're not trying to be something they're not. They're just as they are, at whatever stage they are, and you come along and enjoy their beauty, but they are not, they just are. And such a good reminder of us just to be, just to give ourselves a few minutes to be. And as my friend had done, she had done this with a few minutes in her early morning routine. And I just think it's such a beautiful example of what everybody can do with just a few minutes, and that you can give yourself that time. I think it's really lovely. I met this week, a couple of lovely women who had been part of my February challenge, and they were traveling out here, and so we met up, and they bought a scarf and a journal. And I thought to myself, it's so funny because it's not funny, but it's like we had this thing in common where when I travel someplace, I often will buy a silk scarf or a scarf, and I'll buy a journal. So it was kind of, we had that in common. And because I just think they make for such great gifts, and they're light, and you can use the journal and so on. But it reminded me about how people are using journals, like what they do with them. And I'm always curious, because this one has dots in it, and I've done some of them with dots, some of them with lines, some of them I could have had made with the blank inside. And this person was is already writing in journals for her grandchildren, and she has one for each of them, and she has been writing just notes and things, and I just thought, that's so good. Like, people are using these things for all kinds of different reasons. And journaling, like one person I know uses my journal to write like something, 3 things to be grateful for. She does that, I think, in the morning. And I used to, when I did a great gratitude journal, I did it at night. And actually, I remember my husband saying, well, what are you going to do? Write the same 3 things every day? And I'm like, no, actually, you know what? I did it for quite a few months until I started just really noticing, right? Because the reason you do these things, by the way, is that it shifts your natural bias towards negativity. So it shifts it towards the positive. So our brains naturally go towards sort of a negativity bias, it's called. And so you start noticing, oh, the things that have gone wrong. Oh, I didn't get the parking spot. Oh, no, all the things, right? But if you train your mind by doing this simple exercise to look for like 3 positive things. So for example, when I first started, and you can tell this is a long time ago since I've done this, when I first started my flower business, it was in one of the first years, and I was doing a really big event. It had been the biggest event that I'd ever done, and I didn't really feel like a legitimate business owner yet. And I still felt like the home gardener who was kind of like pretending to be a florist. And so I had gone out, it was off season, so I didn't have a lot in the garden. And I had gone out to like a big grocery store, because they had some of the flowers that I needed. And it's quite far from here. It's like 40-minute drive or something. And so the nice woman in the floral department said, well, did you bring a bucket with water? And I'm like, no. And in that moment I thought, oh, such a rookie move. And then she said, oh, I'll give you one. And I'm like, oh, really? Thank you. And she puts water in it. She gives them my flowers. And that's what I wrote in my gratitude journal that night was that bucket, because the bucket wasn't just the bucket. The bucket was the first time that I had a florist's bucket. It was the first time that I thought of myself as a business owner, as a florist, as somebody, and it was given in such a beautiful way that it wasn't like, well, that's such a rookie move, you should have known that. It was like, oh, you're going to need this, here you go. And it sticks with me to this day, actually, of how those kinds of very easy for the person who's already there but how meaningful it is as we sort of transition and see ourselves in a different way. And now I always carry a bucket. I always have little snips in the glove box in the car, and all of that kind of stuff. So, you know, if I need that, then I can. But I know that now. Those are just things that I've learned. And so I always try and pass along any kind of encouragement to the next person who's coming along on her journey. And in this case, a lot of times it's with creativity. So it doesn't really matter in this case that I've made this or that my friend drew a picture, or what matters is we made that time for ourselves. We gave ourselves 10 minutes to do something just because we were compelled to do that, or called to do that, some people say. But it's just like, you don't need to know why. You can just follow that. And that is creativity, and that is leading a creative life, and that is what makes meaning. And I think it's what gives you energy to do all of the other things that are required of you during the day, whether it's caregiving, or working a demanding job, or having your own business. It's really important to give yourself some moments in the day to notice some of these things, and to notice the beauty that's around us, especially at this time of year. I think it is just so beautiful, and there's so many things that are changing and coming up in the garden and so on. So I leave you with that this week, and I hope that you have a wonderful day. If this is the thing that you see first thing in the morning, I hope that your day has moments where you can notice beauty, moments where you can take a deep breath, moments where you can acknowledge to yourself that you're a creative person, and that what you're doing is important, and that making time for creativity as you do is critical. And for you and for the people who you are looking after in the world. So thank you for being here, and I wish you peace on your path.